Hello everyone, we are joined by babybay from G2 after qualifying for Masters London on top of their win today. So firstly, congratulations on your win. How does it feel to make it to your second international in a year, two in a row so far?
Thank you. Yeah, no, it feels good. Definitely happy that I get to have another chance at competing internationally and looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. What do you, since you did go to Santiago with the boys, what do you think were your biggest takeaways from it? I was there, I remember how much you loved the crowd and how much you enjoyed the event.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of like play style, what did you bring back with you to stage one?
Oh, I think the biggest takeaway was just like just getting into a better routine than I had. I thought that I had a good routine until I went to that event and just it just destroyed me. You know, towards the end of that event, I was just fried. Even something talked about like how taxing it is to play consecutive days like that. So that's just something I've been really taking serious over here that I'm looking forward to it transferring over to, London now that we've qualified.
What taxing in terms of the days or in terms of the practice schedules or like just internationals, the
Just
number
it's
of
just
games?
it's just like yeah, it's like you play so many games and sometimes you have to play like three in a row. If we would have made that lower bracket run, we would have had to play two best of fives in a row. I think this is like just very taxing stuff to where like if you're not taking care of your body even before you go to the event, like you're gonna feel it when you're there. Well, especially me because I'm older. You know what I mean? So like maybe like the 18-year-old, they don't care. You know, me at 18, I probably didn't care, but now like it's like I'm trying to think of myself as like like LeBron. Like how he takes care of his body, and I'm trying to do the same thing so I can play my best internationally. Yeah.
I think that's something that it seems like all of G2 tries to practice as well because I think I was talking to Jogamo yesterday and he was like, yeah, I wasn't sleeping enough. That was my main problem.
Even him, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's something that often does get a little bit neglected, like taking care of yourself in the middle of esports and gaming, because like everybody thinks of a gamer, and the first image that comes to your head is not exactly a fit guy if you think about it.
I'm telling you, like when I was younger, I didn't care at all. I could just do whatever. I can't do that anymore. It's just I still had some good games, but it's like when you're at these international tournaments, it's just so different. Because over here in NA, you play a match, you get a week, you play a match, you get a week. Dude, over there, you're just thrown into the fire and it's like boom, boom, boom. And then like your day off, 8 a.m. media day. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have actual like recovery time off. So if you're not on top of it and you like mess up like a couple days in a row, like that could be the make it or break it for your whole tournament. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think you can win these. Like maybe with one guy being like out of it, you can still win the tournament. But if it's more than one guy, like you're just cooked. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. Talking about cooked, today's game. I think that you guys were definitely cooking. I also saw Josh grinning a lot. I don't know if that's some of his anti-stratting coming into play, like in some of those pistols, or just tell me about the prep before this game, for you guys against KRÜ.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to do prep for this. A lot of it was just like, yo, players like go home right away as soon as you can after like the media that we had after beating 100 Thieves. And like, if you want, watch like a VOD or two and like of them, and then like just make sure you get like good sleep. You know what I mean? Make sure you're recovered because we had the later game, so like we're taking caffeine later, and we just wanted to make sure that like we were in form for today. And then I think a lot of the pressure was on like Peter, Shaq, and also Josh to do like a lot of the prep. And we came in early today to like go over, all right, what do we want to do for maps? It went the way that we're looking at it actually, which is awesome. We were prepared. We had a little bit of antes going into it, but I think a lot of it when it came down to when we were actually playing in the server, like that attack half of Lotus, even when we were starting to make our comeback of Lotus on defense side, was a lot of us actually just making the reads in real time, which I think was really impressive. And then obviously the timeouts from Josh, he always, yeah, man, his timeouts are always value. Like he's always telling us the right stuff. And like it just feels even better when it like works to a T, like the way that he says it's gonna work. And I think it just gives us even more momentum and confidence going in. So yeah, a lot of the prep and stuff was on Shaq and Josh. And yeah, I can't be grateful enough for the coaching staff that we have. And then also, Robert, who makes sure that we're taking care of ourselves and getting the right sleep and the right nutrients in between maps and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we could definitely see that today. I think that in today's game as well, especially on that first map, right? You mentioned that you guys were a little bit down and you had to make that comeback. So,
Hard. It was a
yeah,
hard. Yeah, they're good at that map. Like that's their bread and butter map right there. But we knew like we're also really good at Lotus. Like G2 historically has been a very strong Lotus team.
hmm
So we were down for the challenge. And man, that I can't wait to watch that map over because it was probably just a banger. Like that. I think at some point it was like 10-10, 11-11, and then we just like ran away with it. Like
and
we just
started pulled
made the
off some
plays.
crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like that's just like the best feeling because we really like played to win. We wanted London more today than they did.
Definitely see it in the server for sure. After that 2-0, now your next opponent, it's going to be Leviatan, and it's a team that this year, they had a bit of a slow start, but now they've got their youngest rookie in place, and they've looked incredible. So are you
Yeah.
excited about the
They're
game?
they're
And
really strong.
Mhm.
Yeah, very excited to play them. We needed that rematch because it was very close and when we played them in the group stage, right? It was like OT that we lost that series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were experimenting. So now I mean there's no excuses.
hmm
I think that's the cool thing. And we gotta defend the Americas title, over here in stage. Kickoff was like a little bit weird because it was like three different like winners that win the trophy, but there's only one trophy for this, right?
True.
So I'm trying to get my stage one trophy. Obviously, these guys are trying to
They
get there.
got
Well,
one,
like
yeah.
I don't know at this point how many they got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to win it all. Like I want it all. I want to be that first seed for Americas going into it.
hmm
Yeah,
So something that I want to ask you personally, you had a pretty long career so far in different games as well, and then now in
yeah,
Valorant, and you're still unscotted, as the chat loves to say. I see it like every
yes.
other time. So kind of wanted to ask you how you keep that passion or interest like constantly there, and not burn out, and how do you like stay on top of the game with all of these young guns running
Yeah,
around and stuff.
yeah, it's definitely not easy. I definitely think that like my time casting and doing analyst work was really really necessary for me because I think the mental that I was in, like when I didn't make the partnerships, like when FaZe wasn't accepted into it and
Right.
whatever, and like I didn't get like tryouts even the first year, and then we lost. Like I think we got like sixth in NA in like trying to compete to like make it when the guard won. I think I just realized I was like just that was like when I was burned out. And I've never been burned out in esports really. That was like my first burnout that I experienced, which is kind of crazy because I lasted a while. There's a lot of players that burn out earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that time, casting and the fact that right like let me like was like down for it, and everyone that I worked with was so cool. Kind of made me like find the love for the game again, and it got my fire going. It just got my fire back. Like I found the love for the game. I started streaming it like a lot. Like I didn't make Bangkok for casting, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch party it, and I'm gonna like stream a bunch of hours, dude. I was putting in like 12-hour streams,
Time zone must
like
have been rough.
literally grinding ranked like a madman, watch partying, completely ruined my sleep schedule when I watch partied Bangkok. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. And then for me to like get the opportunity to play like when I'm literally working an event at EWC and they're like, hey, like we might need a sub. Like, are you still got it? Like like it was just like, wow, like is this actually happening? Like this is insane. And then I get picked up by the team like after subbing. I mean, it's just like you can't make it up. So like I'm trying to take advantage of every moment I get because I mean, this is just like it's just a crazy, crazy timeline. I never thought I was gonna be here, honestly.
It's definitely a wild arc when you say it like that. One more thing I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about the casting, right? Because you're working with a lot of very high level talent at a lot of these events, and you're seeing some of the best teams
Oh yeah.
playing and stuff. So do you think that taking that break and watching a lot of that gameplay, just kind of like vibing on that analytical level, made you like a better player that you are right now, and how?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I definitely think like me casting and doing analyst work definitely helped out with like game IQ. Obviously there's like two separate types of game IQ. Like I can like see the bigger picture things very, very it's like I'm not gonna say easier, but it's a little bit more clear. But then like when I had to apply it in the actual game, it was a little bit harder, right? Because like that's where I didn't have like the experience, like because I took a year and a half off and I'm on like a new role and stuff. But I think if anything, I've learned like or I've shown that I'm a very fast learner,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like I'm just using that and trying to to do my best every single day and learn what I need to learn for the team every single day. And I have tons of help from Josh. You know, I hear like these rumors around, oh, Baby is the best Vice player. If it wasn't for Josh, I would have been cooked, man. Like he was really helping me out, understanding how I'm supposed to be doing my role, good setups, what bad setups are, you know, like when I should maybe not even play the setups. Like he really put in a lot of work and invested into me specifically, and it helped immensely, you know. And now that I kind of like went through that with him, I kind of know how to apply that now to like, let's say if I have to learn like a new agent or whatever it may be, I can apply the way that he taught me Vise and use that for the new characters. So I truly believe I can play anything, honestly. And I think that time casting helped me understand the game at a level that isn't just like, well, duelist go kill. You know, it's just to reel it back in, you know. I think it taught me like, yo, this is how you can move around, and you know, this is how you should lurk, and yeah.
That's actually a really interesting take because usually you see players going from playing to casting and not really coming back, but I think you're probably one of the few people who have made like the full circle.
Yeah, insane. Like I said, it was something that was extremely unexpected. Did not see that coming, and that's why I'm forever grateful for Josh for giving me the opportunity in the first place. And I mean, grateful for Frost for like, you know, doing Spike Talk with me and like letting people like Josh hear my thoughts about the game and stuff like that to even have a chance in the first place, to even be considered. So it wasn't for Frost randomly approaching me and being like, hey, let's make this podcast. Like, what do you say? And like me being able to like showcase that, hey, like I'm not just some dumb jet player, duelist, one trick, you know, like I actually like can understand the game at a high level. And then for Josh to be like listening to that and be like, hey, maybe this guy like has potential. And for him to take the risk, because it's you got to think about it from like Josh's like perspective. Like I came in, subbed in, I probably blew expectations away. You know what I mean? Because they weren't expecting anything crazy. Like they were just like, hey, like we're gonna play with you for a little bit. Nate's gonna come back, and we already qualified for champs, so whatever, you know. But for him to see the potential in when I subbed in and then take the risk of picking me up as like a actual fifth, you already know what the outside noise was, and
Yeah.
he always gets tons of flack, you know. Like even when we were doing our experimenting, oh, why is Josh trying the harbor? His ideas are awesome, and you know what I like about him the most is he's willing to take those risks um, consistently, and I think when you go into stuff with that and like you're really all in on it, I think that like life just like it kind of like gives stuff back to you, you know. So I think that yeah, I'm forever grateful for Josh for like giving me this opportunity in the first place, and obviously all the guys to like accept me to be their teammate, because it's like, dude, it's just so insane. Like, you know, this doesn't happen. Like this does not happen.
I think that to be fair though, I mean, apart from you getting the chance and of course everything that happened around your pickup, yes, there was a lot of noise, but I think that at the end of the day, your
Yeah,
teammates also have a lot of respect for you and what you bring to the team. Like I think one
absolutely.
of the
Yeah,
things that Jogomo told me when I talked to him was about how you mentioned to him to like be more expressive and like just little things that you bring from your experience, right? So I think that as a team, what would you say is the biggest contribution that you've given to them this year?
man, it's so cool. Like it's so cool being a part of a team again and like seeing like my impact like through everybody, like seeing everybody at different moments. Like this was a team that never like was animated, like they were very professional, serious, and like just to see them like just having fun with it, like because they see me doing it, and like I just like I can see that influence that I've had on the team through every single individual, even like when we're showing up to practice and just like goofing off and stuff like that. Like I think that it's just so fun to be a part of like a team, and we enjoy practicing together. We enjoy like being a team like with one another. There's some teams that are still really good and they have players that don't even like each other. We're in a lucky spot where like everybody is just, dude, we all get along, you know? Like there's no beef within the team. We all have the same goal. We all like to mess around, you know? We all have the same sense of humor. And it's just like, yeah, it's just really really cool seeing like just even my impact in those small things, like small mannerisms and like just stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question before I let you go. You brought
Yeah.
up the age thing, and of course, like you mentioned, I know what you mean. I'm 29, so I get it. I think
Yeah.
so. What would you say to players who are kind of like growing past the 20, 22, 24, whatever? Where what do we say to people who are kind of like growing up?
I think every esports player needs to hear this, and the main message is take everything as serious as you can. Obviously, still have fun with it, but really enjoy the moments that you have being able to do this, because I've seen tons of young kids just come and go like in a season, and it's because they're not taking advantage of the full opportunity. So really, like, take advantage of your opportunity. I was even one of those players. I got so many chances. I got very lucky because I was very talented as a young kid when I was playing other games. But if you take it serious now, like you should be looking up to these everyone from G2. Honestly, you should be looking up to players like Trent, Valen, Leaf, Gogamo, who like have been taking it serious as soon as they got their opportunity, and really, I mean, really they took advantage of it to the max, and they still do every single day. Look up to these players and try to strive to be like them, because like I said, like, you just never know. In esports, you could be gone like in an instant. So enjoy the moment, take it very serious, do everything you can to just give it your all, like, honestly, give it your all, but also have fun. Like, don't stress yourself out about it. Just do your absolute best that you can
Stay
and enjoy the moment,
serious
because
and
it
don't
could be
get
gone in a
stressed.
second. Yeah, literally, actually.
I like that. I like that. All right,
Hmm.
that's about all the questions I have for you. But thank you so much for talking to me, and
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the candidness